fucking fighting against Russia, their foreign adversary, far away from home. America, okay? I'm sorry, it's just the truth. Anyway, let's continue.
They're still keeping
Let's
them
hear
there
what the fuck this guy has to say now.
as hostages, effectively. Neo-Nazis started shooting at the Chinese students who wanted to leave Kharkiv, and 2 of them got injuries. So hundreds of foreign citizens are trying to leave the shelling area, and they're effectively kept as hostages, and they're being offered to go to Lviv and then immigrate to Poland that way.
I mean, he's just like making shit up. This is so ineffective as propaganda goes, like as far as propaganda goes, because like literally Russia Today and all other like Russian state propaganda is effectively shut off in the Western world. So like if you were to hear this more frequently, if you were like actually able to get this kind of information as routinely as you hear like pro-Western stuff or things that the Ukrainian media is putting out as far as their PR efforts, maybe it'd be a bit more believable, but
no brain rot yet.
Impossible at this point.
Our military have provided corridors in all areas of contact without exceptions, so that civilians, including foreign citizens, could leave the areas. I would like to emphasize again, nationalists are not allowing them to do this. Moreover, they are saying to...
For the record, the racism at the border is not a lie. Everyone, including the fucking Western world and including the Ukrainian side, of course, is going to take shreds of truth and turn it into a completely separate talking point, okay? Like people were talking about how Putin was personally bombing the Holocaust memorial, like deliberately. Like, no, of course he didn't bomb the Holocaust memorial deliberately. Like, what are you, fucking crazy? No. That's what happens, which is unacceptable, which is the reason why it's unacceptable that you're invading a country to begin with. But that's what happens when you invade a country. That's why we say no to invading, okay? And ultimately, it turns out it didn't even get damaged, but it doesn't matter because the PR made the rounds. Of course he bombed the memorial on purpose. Yeah, totally, dude. He did. Yeah, he definitely bombed the Holocaust. He was like, yeah, let's bomb the Holocaust memorial. Do you have the Russian battle plans? Do you know what they planned on attacking? Dude, every bomb is like fucking $60,000, dude. I don't know how much bombs are, okay? But... why would they waste it on a fucking non-military target? Like, it's so stupid. But of course, because I said, why would they fucking invade Russia? Why would they invade Ukraine? That's so dumb. And I was wrong, and he did actually do something insanely fucking dumb. Now everything can just turn around and turn into, you're wrong. To send a message, well, what's the message? Let's use limited resources to bomb a Holocaust memorial to look even more evil. Yeah, that's what his goal was. He was like, ooh, yeah. Anyway. No, of course they fucking bomb shit. And their precise strikes are not as fucking precise as you think they are. And of course they end up fucking, bombing targets that are, or end up hitting targets that are not intended, that they're not intending to hit. Artillery strikes are almost never accurate. They're accurate in like tens of meters. Why the fuck would they target a memorial? I don't know, because, that's why. Anyway, let's continue.
To foreign citizens to go to their authorities who need to address foreign ministry of Ukraine. Worse still, neo-Nazis are treating their own population as human shields. Our military are also...
Tanjiro, please, your takes are one-sided, Hasan. You talk about the neo-Nazis in the ranks of the Ukrainians, but at the same time, there are more neo-Nazis on the other side. This is just stupid propaganda from the Russian side. Yeah, totally, dude. It was crazy when Russia did propaganda by hacking the Ukrainian National Guard Twitter account to be like, oh yeah, we're dipping our fucking bullets against the Muslim orcs. We're dipping our bullets in lard. The Azov battalion dipping their bullets in lard. They wrote it in English, dude. Like, that's how fucking bold they were. They were like, we're not just going to write this in Russian. We're going to write this in English too, so the Western world sees exactly what we are. Anyway.
Pointing out that in Donbass and Severodonetsk and Lysychansk and others, citizens who live in high-rise buildings are being forced to...
No, they wrote it in Russian too. It was a translation error, bro. Yeah, dude, it was a translation error. That's really funny you said that. Because it was on video, you fucking idiot! It was literally on video! It wasn't just a tweet! It was a video! You fucking dumbass! Why do so many of you do this? Was the video an error? It's so funny. It's like dipping the bullets in lard doesn't even do anything. It's just to be like, yeah, we're gonna, kill these Muslims. Like, that's it. We're gonna fucking make sure these Muslims go to hell. Oh man, it's just funny. I love the Twitch chatters who just like randomly make stuff up
to go to the lower floors, and they put cannons on the upper floors and other equipment, and they put snipers on top. This is how Nazis behave when Russians fought them, Germans in Ukraine. Unfortunately, we have losses, and our duty is to support the families of our military who are fighting for our people of Russia. To all family members of all the fallen soldiers, they will receive insurance payouts, and each member of their families will receive financial compensation. But moreover, I believe that it's necessary to set additional payments to the military and other forces that are participating in this operation.
Is it better now or worse? No, it's worse. What the fuck? Why is it worse? Sorry, I just turned off the lights and turned on other lights in the room, but it got worse for some reason. It's now extra blown up. Jesus Christ. Okay, I'll figure it out. Let's continue. Sorry.
In the amount of 5 million rubles. All military who are participating in this operation will also receive additional payouts, insurance payouts plus compensation for any injuries. If a soldier is not able to continue his military service as a result of this operation, they will receive a payout of 2.9 million rubles, and this has been put in law already. I also believe we need to ensure additional payments to the staff of the Ministry of Defense and any injured personnel in the amount of 3 million rubles. I would like to emphasize again that our officers and soldiers are fighting for Russia, for the peaceful life of citizens of Donbass, to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, so that we do not have anybody who is threatening us at our borders, including threatening us with nuclear weapons. And we are proud with our military. We will remember our fallen comrades. We will do everything to support their family, their children, to support their education. And I ask you to honor them with a minute of silence.
Пожалуйста. Уважаемые товарищи, хочу сказать, что специальная военная операция идет в строгом соответствии с
Dear comrades, I would like to say that special military operation is being conducted strictly in accordance to the plan and schedule. All objectives that were set are being resolved or achieved successfully. And our Minister of Defense will...
So what happens when he gets when he breaks up, when the fucking footage goes away because he's like Zoom, this is on a Zoom call, he just, what? He'll put up like a random footage.
Comrade.
Maya, want to go clubbing next weekend? Maybe.
Will give more details.
If you're here, sure. Dude, look at...
We've been listening to Vladimir.
Look at what the fuck has happened, by the way. This shit sucks, dude. This is so fucking... It's so unacceptable. So fucked up.
Putin in Moscow. This is Mark Austin here with the News Hour from Lviv in Ukraine tonight. And I'll just go through what President Putin has been saying to the Russian nation. Basically, he was saying that the...
Only military targets, what bullshit? No. It's not anymore. They're not hitting military targets anymore. They're not. They are now absolutely fucking targeting everything. They're hitting a lot. They're turning it into fucking... They have absolutely increased the intensity and no longer are doing limited strikes. They've kicked it up into another degree, another level that isn't still quite shock and awe, but pretty close to it at this point.
Special military operation, as he called it, was on schedule and going to plan. He then talked about a posthumous award for a senior Russian general who was killed in Ukraine. He was a hero, he said, a national hero. And in fact, he's still speaking. Let's just have a listen.
Standing their duty, even after injuries, soldiers and officers.
Oh, no, it was okay. Thank you for the 10 gift subs.
They sacrifice their lives in order to save their...
A building that is used for anti-tank ambush is treated as an enemy bunker? Yeah. I mean, but it's not. But yes, that's the whole point of fucking... that's what I've been saying, is that if you put fucking civilians, if you give guns to civilians, and then they start shooting at these convoys are going to blast back and blow up fucking residential buildings. They're going to get air support. They're going to get the same thing that America does everywhere else. Such is the reality of urban warfare. Holy shit, Terrell J. Starr did in fact admit that civilian militia in plainclothes drew weapons on an EMT vehicle, killed the occupants, and then he immediately spun the story to cover up a war crime that had just taken place. This is not objective journalism. I'm at a checkpoint outside of the city where a civilian group is checking all vehicles, including military, for saboteurs. There are reports of them shooting at checkpoints. keep these civilian military groups on edge. Some of the professions of the men holding government-issued weapons at this checkpoint: shoemaker, museum director, language teacher. Air raid sirens are going off. This is usually the time civilians are taking cover, not these volunteer military units. They are staying put at this checkpoint at the pitch dark at the ready, protecting Ukraine. Today closed with the unit I'm embedded in, eliminating 2 suspected Russian saboteurs in an EMT vehicle. Saw the whole thing go down. Car refused to stop after several warnings. Volunteer opened fire. It's almost 1 a.m. on Monday. The volunteers are up protecting this highway into Kyiv. I mean, I don't know if that is actually like they were saboteurs or not. But ultimately, this is what's going to happen when you have a fucking, when you have a civilian militia. This is also what's much worse shit is probably already happening and will continue to happen once you also get to a point where, wait, hold on. Once you also get to a point where like everybody has fucking guns. Coffee Dave, thank you for the 10 gift subs. Arno is okay. Thank you for the 10 gift subs. Everyone has fucking guns. What do you think is going to happen when everyone has guns, guys? What do you think is going to happen?
Hard to believe I've been here for a year now. Thank you for the mind food, Mr. Abi.
So now you're saying even Ukrainians aren't allowed to defend themselves? What? Would it be fair to say that Ukraine has surrendered its monopoly on violence to the people? That's usually not good, right? Dude, it's chaos, okay? It's fucking chaos. When you got civilians, when you got a fuckload of guns in an area, and you have normal, like, shoemakers and shit with automatic weapons, it's fucking chaos. It's turning, it's what Texans believe Texas should be like. These guys are not even remotely trained. Like, some of them have combat training from, doing Ukrainian National Guard duty in Donbass or whatever. But a lot of them don't. A lot of them are just regular fucking dudes that just now have an automatic rifle, like a NATO automatic rifle. Okay? And they're just sitting there and they're like, I'm fucking terrified, scared shitless. And now I have this automatic rifle. I'm just going to start fucking shooting people. And... bro, can you explain why Russian army is all Muslim law? No, dude, it's the fucking Chechen army that is, the Kadyrov division is Chechen. They're all Muslim. I appreciate you acknowledge that the arming civilians escalated this war to shock and awe. No, arming civilians did not escalate this war into shock and awe. Not being able to fucking destroy the Ukrainian air defense escalated this into shock and awe. Make no mistake. Okay? The real reason why the violence ramped up is because they fucking lost. They lost militarily. They wanted to do a special operation, and they overshot. They were overconfident in their personal skills in taking up and putting Kyiv in a stranglehold. Okay, they overshot their own fucking artillery and thought that they could effectively take down all of the Ukrainian Air Force and their anti-aircraft guns too. They failed on that part too.
Thank you, Hasan, for all that you do.
And because of that, they then turned around and increased the fucking severity. But army civilians isn't justified. It's evil as fuck. That's Ukraine's government. Wait, that's the Ukraine government. But there's nothing that they can do. Ukraine has 400K veterans who served in Donbass in the last 8 years. I know, I talked about it already, but According to the Reuters reporter, AMA, they were not arming the civilians, as you're saying. He says that they're still stricter than America, by the way. What? Bro, we've seen like random dudes walk up and grab AKs. They claim that the weapons are tied to their passport numbers or whatever, but like it's done. The country's going to be a fucking ammo depot.
Comrades and peaceful citizens, in the course of fighting our military and the formations of Donbass and Lugansk, showing heroism. And we see a great example in Donetsk region. Fighters under the command of Brigada, they were able to break through a very strengthened line of defense that had been strengthened over the last 8 years. The commander of the tank detachment, during his fight, destroyed 5 tanks. On the 25th of February, the head of the Lovkin, Alexei Lovkin, encountered 15 tanks and 6 BMP of the nationalists. And having attacked them, they destroyed all BMPs and 5 tanks, having achieved the goal without any losses. I signed an order. To award Gaji Magomedov the status of the honor of Hero of Russia posthumously. As a real commander, he was protecting his soldiers. Having received a heavy wound, he continued to fight. And
yeah, we're going to interrupt Vladimir Putin. He's saying what he's already been saying, in fact, to his what appears to be politicians or his Security Council. Good evening to you. We are in Ukraine this evening. Our Security and Defence Editor Deborah Haynes is with me, and I just want to tell you a little more about what he said. He said that this general who had been killed here in Ukraine was a national hero. He was giving him a posthumous award, and then he made a series of claims that are simply not based, as far as we know, on any evidence at all. He said, the fact is we're fighting neo-Nazis and foreign fighters, and they are using civilians as human shields. Hundreds of foreign citizens are trying to leave the areas where the fighting is happening, but are being stopped by the Ukrainian military, he said. We are making humanitarian corridors, but the Ukrainians are not letting people out. He said the Russian and Ukrainian people, this is telling, the Russian and Ukrainian people are one. And he said even if many Ukrainians have been brainwashed, and he then called for a minute's silence. Well, alongside me, as I say, is Deborah Haynes. And Deborah, I think it's the first time we've had such an update since his special operation, as he called it, began.
Yeah, since this invasion, this war, which are 2 words that apparently Russian media aren't being allowed to use. And I thought it was interesting as well when he said, he gave this update and kind of made out that everything's going to plan, whereas actually on the ground it seems the opposite is true. This was supposed to be a lightning encirclement of Kiev, the capital, a toppling of the regime, and an installment, the regime, the government, an installment of a pro-Moscow regime. And yet where are we? 8 days in, the only city that seems to have potentially fallen to the Russians is Kherson in the south, and even there is still fighting going on, and an armed forces representative on the Ukrainian side contested the idea that the city had fallen to the Russians. So the idea that President Putin is putting across that it's all going really well doesn't match, like you said, with reality. But the really interesting thing as well to say in all of this is the information war that's going on. We're living in 2 alternate realities. There's the reality as you and I see and feel and know and hear and can talk about here in Ukraine and across much of the rest of the...
Okay, first of all, you're literally Sky News. Secondly, no one is hearing the other side. Like, no one is hearing the alternative reality. You literally cut Putin off to give your take on the matter. And yes, of course they're fucking lying on the Putin side. That's what you do when you're in war. The human shield one is like The human shield one is a hilarious one when you think about it, because, you know, we've heard it a lot. Putin just not even trying hard with that one. He's just like, yeah, human shield, also WMDs. He literally, by the way, they did do that. The funniest part about this is that Russia did actually originally say that Ukraine might be looking into getting WMDs. Which is, at that point, it's like, come on, dog. Like, are you serious? You should literally just make up your own playbook. Like, you can't just directly steal talking points from America and Israel at the same time. You can't do that. People know these are lies, brother. Anyway. But also, yeah, I mean, there is of course bullshit happening on both sides. Like, there's PR on both sides. It's just for morale.
The world, but in Russia itself, many people
but do not misunderstand me. I'm not talking about like, oh, we need to hear more Russian propaganda. What I'm saying is to act like our version of events on the ground is like 100% the accurate version of events on the ground is foolish, because it's not true.
Big 20, thanks.
It's not. And you know, many of the information comes out, and I tell you sometimes when things sound suspicious, like Ghost of Kyiv from the jump, or the Snake Island 13 was you know, found to be not true. They didn't die, luckily. Okay? But it's just propaganda. You're supposed to do. That's what you do when you're doing information war. That's why Alex Jones calls it Infowar.com. The problem is that this chat only believes the false information coming from one side instead of not believing either. No, I think this chat's pretty good overall. I think that there are, like, they're not like just MSNBC libs who are lapping everything up. Ukraine is arming civilians, have launched no counteroffensive or recovered any land, have no air superiority, and is begging NATO for help. How is anyone saying Russia is doing bad? Russia is steamrolling right now? Of course Russia is steamrolling. But Russia is not doing as well as it thought it was going to do by their own fucking metric of success. Their own metric of success would have been special operations, immediate decapitation of leadership, special operations that destroy their fucking, destroy all Ukrainian air units. Okay? Which would have then allowed them to take over and choke Kyiv for a couple fucking days and ultimately take it over entirely and plant whoever their fucking puppet leadership was going to be. They didn't actually end up doing that. Their targeted strikes did not work. So then they fucking started full-blown shelling cities. Putin says everything is going as planned, but no, that's not the case.
Aren't getting free access to different forms of information, so they hear what President Putin says and they don't have any other counter to that, so they presumably have to believe it.
And the reality is, as we speak, a brutal siege of Mariupol and attacks on other towns and cities, the like of which we're witnessing on our screens now. But the siege of Mariupol is turning into a truly brutal attack.
Well, the reports coming out of there are horrific. The city under siege, like you say, under attack, under bombardment, and officials saying that it's actually too dangerous to get people out, the wounded out, to get them for help. And right now, or this evening, you've had these talks taking place, a second round of talks between Ukrainian negotiators and Russian negotiators at an undisclosed location. The Ukrainian negotiator actually tweeted a picture of it. It's interesting. You had the Ukrainians in their combat fatigues, the Russians in suits and ties. And one of the requests on the Ukrainian side is for a ceasefire for this humanitarian corridor, because their people are suffering, civilians are suffering.
And a clear sign, though, that President Putin is not backing down in any way.
No, and we had that, didn't we, today from that phone call from the French President, Emmanuel Macron. You'll remember he's the one that seemed to have the closest rapport, relatively speaking, of Western leaders with the Russian president. He went to Moscow, didn't he, before all this happened, and sat on that long table and tried to negotiate some kind of drawdown or stop from the invasion, which failed. And the phone call today, the readout from the Elysee, was really depressing. President Putin insisting that he would continue until he achieved his aims, which, let's remember, it's not just about Ukraine, it's about the security architecture of Europe. And President Macron saying to him that his attitude, calling the government here a Nazi regime, is just delusional.
All right, we want to talk about that just a little bit later.
Earlier this morning, I questioned Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at a press roundtable that was aired live on Russian television.
Some of you all the reason
Thank you, Mr. Foreign Minister.